How's it going? We got an amazing crew of people over here. A lot of people asking great questions and a lot of people great answers. People that hang out at this channel. So I'm happy to be a part of this. We got a comment right here from a dude named Mohammed talking about, thank you, Evan. I have another question if you don't mind. How do you make a drum more aggressive? I'm still learning and having trouble in that area since every time I test my mix, it always lacks the punch. All right, this is an amazing question. He thanked me. This dude is nice. And then we got Andres coming through with an amazing answer. All right, this is what I'm talking about. Andres is talking about using parallel compression, which is the #1 answer when you need more punch. And he's also talking about using a Puig Child or a CLA 76, the blue revision, because it's the most, sound character induced. And then, he's talking about a medium fast attack. He's talking about 7 dB of gain reduction, ultra fast release, all buttons in. Now, I'm going to show you how exactly this works so you can see what's up, because I have right up here a bunch of drums recorded, and right now I have all these drums being sent to 2 buses. You'll see the clean bus right here, everything else is muted. So the clean bus is getting all these drums, and all the drums have on them so far is this SSL channel that I put on everything, and this particular kick channel, kick in, has a little R bass. All right, other than that, the Pro Q3 is doing a little reduction around 250, 300, and boosting a couple frequencies on the snare that are in key of the song to sort of bring out some of the overtones that I wanted in the song that these drums were accompanying prior to me importing them into this song for me to show you an example of this. So let's just listen real quick to the kick through the room mics. Now what you're about to hear, is everything through just the clean bus. But keep in mind, I start out with everything on my mix bus. A lot of people are going to tell you this is called some weird foreign kind of mixing, top down or mixing or whatever they want to call it. This is how you mix. This is the only way it makes sense. There's no reason to start from the other side. If you start EQ and stuff and all this other, by the time you get to the end, it's going to sound different as soon as you start slapping a limiter and a compressor on the end. Everything's going to sound different. Things that you thought were poking out are now going to be smushed in and not poke out. Things that might have been smushed in now going to poke out. It's like, why would you want to have to rebalance everything again and mix everything again after you add that? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I like to do things that make sense. In my opinion, you put that stuff on and you mix into it. Now, granted, if you need to hear what's really going on and you don't want it cluttered with your mix bus, then mute the mix bus and just listen to that. I get that, okay, but the rest of the time, when you're actually listening to like all the drums as a whole with the track or without it, leave the mix bus on, because the mix bus is going to do something to the drums that helps. Chad Blake got a lot of his sound on a lot of records from like the ML4000, and that's a multiband compressor. And it's a very aggressive sounding multiband compressor. As soon as you put that thing on, it's doing stuff. So obviously he's doing stuff, but just putting that on and setting it is doing a lot without him having to do anything yet. That's even crazy, right? It's already working for him. So that's what we're going to do. We got our mix bus set to hook us up. Now, what do I got going on? I've got, keep in mind, a compressor, a limiter, saturation, all the typical stuff you would have, stereo widening, and I'm clipping. And then I got a couple extra things on the computer. So that's all in the analog world. But then I got my Manley Massive Passive. I got my Pultec. Okay, so the Pultec and the Manley Massive Passive are just EQs to shape everything a little bit for me in case I need that. And then, which I always leave them on because it helps. On the Pultec especially, you boost low end, and you're attenuating some. It's that awesome boost with a cut after. It's pretty sick, and set it to either 60 or 100 depending on the genre. Keep it broad as all hell, and then put this on boost around 3. Attenuate a little bit or nothing if you want, and then this can fluctuate anywhere in here. On my analog side, I have a bit of a boost around and I'll show you what this looks like later, but I have a boost that's way up around here. So like I like to split my boosts up. I get that going over there, and then on here I either go 4 or 3. Generally, that's usually how I roll. So just to show you, that's my general settings that I start at. Now, my limiter is doing very little. This is just holding stuff together at the end, making sure I'm not clipping like crazy. And I sometimes stack limiters. I will sometimes use one or the other, sometimes stack them. So in this case, I'm going to stack them because I don't have the ML4000, and that thing certainly sounds like there's two on top of each other. There's just a lot of stuff happening with, there's a lot of, you can make that thing very aggressive. So we have a slightly aggressive mix bus chain now. Now, all right, the drums sound pretty good, but they aren't as thick as they could be. So let's just look at that. That's our clean bus. Now, I duplicated the clean bus, and I have my crush bus. Okay, my crush bus right here is going to be blended in, multi-mono, keep in mind, multi-mono effects, and I'm putting the CLA 76 Bluey, the Bluey, just like we're talking about the Bluey, just like Andre said, and this is how I like to roll a lot because it's a very aggressive sounding compressor. All buttons in, keep the release fast so you can really hear the compressor working, and on this compressor, everything's backwards with these attack and release knobs. In other words, the right is fast, the left is as slow as it goes, but this is a very fast compressor, so it's microseconds on this attack. We're talking, woo, faster than a speeding bullet kind of stuff. Even the slowest attack on this thing is something like 50 milliseconds or something really fast. It's crazy. Over here, it's like, microsecond. It's like, I don't know, it's crazy. All right, it's crazy. Just keep that in mind. So, listen to that. It's in. It's out. Let's start playing with some knobs. Medium attack-ish. Fast release. Gain reduction. He was talking about around 7. I like to just make sure it's slamming because I'm peppering it in. So if it gets too aggressive on you, you always back it off. But the less you back it off, the less of this I'm hearing, and I'm using this for a sound, so I'm jamming it. And I'm blending to taste. Now, this is without. That's with. So with, without. All right? Now, I'm going to give you something else I do. That's my crush. Now, my crush, like I said, crush bus is getting everything in sight. All the drums, in other words. Now, what we're dealing with here is just for the drums. I have another parallel set of stuff that gets everything but the drums. The drums are unique instruments. They need their own stuff going on in parallel, in my opinion. I don't mess with vocals and keyboards and stuff on the drum parallel bus. I don't do that. Other people may do that. I don't do that. So we're talking just for the drums here, all right? So we got our clean bus, we got our crush, no rooms, because this is my little tip to you. I don't prefer to compress the room mics. If I can help it, I will compress the room mics very little, only on this crush bus, or not at all, and I'll just use this one. Check this out. This bus here has the overhead sent to it, the toms, kick in, kick out, snare tops, snare bottom, but it does not have the rooms. When you compress the rooms, you get a very whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It's just this buildup of overtones from the cymbals, and the reflections in the room start to happen. I don't appreciate it so much. It's one thing when you do it like in a stairwell, like Bonham style, Glyn Johns, when you're talking about when the levee breaks or something, that big kick can come very cool from a stairwell mic or behind the wall or something, but when it's in the room, it can really start to get a whoosh whoosh thing happening. So it's a very rare case where I will prefer to put compression on rooms instead of overheads. Overheads make the drums have a snap to them, I find, and it brings the cymbals to life. And that's what I like better than on the rooms. So sometimes I'll throw a little compression on that SSL channel itself that's on the overheads, but in this case, I didn't. So, peppering in a V-comp, all right? A V-comp is just another flavor of compressor. Compressors are not just compression, they are flavors. Now this, listen to that. When you put these three together, starts to really sound like a present amazing drum kit, doesn't it, right? So check this out now. Why do I have the next two buses here are the key. Control is the answer to all your problems. You just created this amazing balance, but let's say once you got all the guitars, everything in there, whatever, now you can't hear something. Like the kick is no longer poking the way you want, or the snare. Guess what? Snare parallel. On the snare parallel bus, what do I got? I've got an SSL bus compressor, and I'm using it for flavor, and I'm just sending my snare here. So 7576, over here, snare top, 7576, and then snare bottom, 7576. So I can control using these, how much fatness do I want out of the sound of the snare, and pepper that in. Okay, now let's say it's all great, but we want a little kick love. Okay, perfect, kick. Now a lot of people will tell you clean low end is the answer. I subscribe to that a lot of times, but sometimes I want a little dirt on my kick. And if I do, crush, you know, set your devil lock, decapitator, anything like that. You want some dirt, put that on, you know, Sans amp, anything. And this is on my kick, and check this out. There's no reason for anything else on this bus. So why even use a gate, or why even use it? Just get rid of everything that you don't want outside of your low end to beef up your kick or whatever you're trying to do. See what I'm saying? You got to come up with what you're trying to do and then come up with the best way to do it. And maybe you'll just have some more creative way than everybody else. Bottom line. So I got an L1 limiter because it's an aggressive sounding limiter, and this distortion on here. So as you can see, I'm going to take everything away now, okay? The kick parallel, snare parallel, crush with no rooms, the crush bus, and leaving just the clean bus. That's just clean. Now I'm going to bring those other things in. That enough punch for you? That's how you do it. You got any questions, you leave them in the comments. We got more stuff to come. There's obviously a ton of ways to do this, so I'd love to argue with you about other ways to do it and how this is wrong and how yours way is right. Let's argue about it. Yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. More videos to come. You guys got this. Piece of cake. All right? Have no fear, because we got this and you are here. Stay tuned. Take it easy. Now I'm a poet.